The matchup of the week, though, certainly one I'm looking forward to watching plenty of. San Francisco at Philadelphia. Is this just one of those where it's going to be chalky, but let's try and get as many of these options in those lineups as we can?
Yeah, so from a DFS perspective, last week we talked about how the Bills-Eagles game was one where you just had to make it work, and there were ways that you could make it work, and there were salary savers in places, and then just making sure you had the difference makers. We talked about how Gabe Davis had a really nice matchup, and he goes out there and has a really good game. Could have had an even better game if he turned his head the right way on that overtime deep ball into the end zone. And so Gabe Davis was less than 9% rostered in some of the single entry contests I was in. He was under 5% in a bunch of others. So finding ways to attack it like that is what's going to help you open things up. But also heavily attacking games like this, if you're playing DFS slates and just onslaught this game and it goes to be like a 60-point game, then that can be fine. That can bring you up the draft board, even if you're relatively chalky along the way. So I have no problem with attacking this game heavily. In redraft, I think it's really straightforward. You start practically everyone in it. I have a little bit of concern about the running backs. The Eagles, they are weak against the pass this year, but they've been very stout against the run. They rank 4th in DVOA against the run. The Niners, they rank 3rd against the run. And DeAndre Swift, between weeks 2 and 6, he never finished worse than RB15. Since then, he's finished outside of RB23 or worse on 3 occasions. It's just not quite as magic as it was at the start of the season. But from a passing game point of view, both these teams have struggled against the pass. The Eagles' defense allow a league-high 45.8 points to wide receivers. 9 different wide receivers have scored 18 or more PPR points against them. I mean, like both last week, Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs both went over that mark. The Niners, they have the league's best passing offense, and they're facing this Eagles defense that's just going to surrender points. I think you can look at Devonta Smith as somebody who should be in line for another big game, because in games without Dallas Goedert, he averages 18 more receiving yards at 77.4 per game. And the Niners, they'll have 10th most fantasy points to wide receivers. We've given up top 5 finishes to both Jordan Addison and Jamar Chase since week 7. So I have confidence in pretty much everyone at that kind of across the board. I think I like stacking Deebo Samuel with Brandon Aiyuk this week. The Eagles have been particularly vulnerable to wide receivers on the perimeter and in the slot. Like they're struggling against both. They are better against the tight end position, better against the running back. So for me, it feels like you want Deebo and Aiyuk and just see how things land.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Aiyuk, Deebo, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, they're all top 16 options for me this week. I think it's hard to, if you've got them, get away from them. I think it's a really interesting place to go and attack what's hopefully going to be an exciting matchup. Just looking at the cash numbers right now, the over-under's already moved to 47.5, and 98% of the cash is still on the over there. So this over-under is probably going to creep up towards 50 by the time we get towards Sunday.